Well, good morning. Happy Monday to you, and welcome into the Real Monica Adams Show. We've got quite the show on tap for you today, including, of course, recapping what happened on Friday for all of you that have been affected, whether it's the devastation of your homes still without power. We'll talk about some charging stations that are available to you if you know anybody in the North City area or anywhere within the city that's still without power. And there is about a 9 to 10% of our city residents are still without power today. So you imagine what happened from Friday till today. Ameren working feverishly to try to get the power back on to you. So we'll talk about the cleanup efforts and how the community is coming together. But we're also going to unfortunately talk about another round of storms that could affect us later into this evening and into the early morning hours. What will take place today and maybe even into tomorrow. We'll check with our Beckett Moore, our aspiring meteorologist, in just a second. We'll also give you some news you can use around the country. We'll give you some sports news. And then today we're going to talk about Rugged and Ruthless. Now, there's a podcast that Joey Griffith was doing. I think he's going to actually resurrect that here in the next month or so. But we'll talk about his company, the camo line of clothing that he has, the entrepreneurship, and then hunting. So for all of you that have ever followed me over the last 3 decades, you know I'm a huge animal lover. But in the beginning of my career, actually one of the very first interviews I ever did when I worked down in Festus, Missouri about 30-something years ago, I sat down and talked with a hunter and I said, look, you've got to make me understand this because I can't ever imagine shooting an animal. But we talk about the conservation side of it all. And we talk about the necessity of it. More importantly, we're going to talk with Joey about the spiritual side of it all. So all of that's coming up for you. And if you're a hunter or if you have family or friends that are hunters, I'd love for them to weigh in this morning and talk back and forth with both of us. And again, stand up for your side of it all. The good thing is it's all about communication and understanding and education, right? That's the important side. All right, all of that coming up for you in the next hour. Let's get to it though. We have a segment that we call What the Weather.
Good evening from St. Louis, Missouri, and it is a beautiful one.
And we talk about the calm after the storm and then the storm again. It's kind of bookending from Friday till today. So let's discuss that with our aspiring meteorologist. First of all, good morning, Beckett.
Good morning. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was good, obviously, after Friday. Did all of you have any damage at your home?
No, we did not.
Good to hear. I know Beckett and I were, discussing this back and forth. We had about 3 or 4 trees that went down, as many of you do. Nowhere near what we saw, though, in Clayton, in the Central West End, in North City. Nothing on our homes, nothing on our cars, didn't even hit the fence line, but just a lot of cleanup that a lot of the community is still doing today. And unfortunately, Beckett, we're talking about it coming again tonight, not to the severity, I hope, that we saw on Friday.
No, it will not be as bad as Friday. But we are sorry about that. I have a little bit of a sore throat, but
I was just going to say, I hear it in you.
Yeah, yeah. But we are looking at some strong winds, gusty winds, but nothing like what we saw on Friday.
Okay, and I know Ameren working to try to restore the power, and just as they restore, I'm hoping that we don't see the power go out again, but the devastation of it all. So what did they finally say? Was that an EF3 tornado that went through the city?
Yeah, so it was an EF3 tornado, strongly developed near Clayton, Missouri. So in Clayton, it developed. That's when it touched down. Expanded to nearly 1 mile wide, moving at 55 miles per hour as it tracked through northern St. Louis. It then continued through Granite City in Illinois, so it crossed the river, then into Pontoon Beach before dissipating in Edwardsville. So again, it was an EF3 tornado. Max winds 152 miles per hour there in North City. Length was 23 miles, and again, the max width over 1,700 yards, which is pretty much a mile wide. Just incredible.
It was, absolutely. And there were people that were out on the roads and then stopped on highways, and then the winds whipping up. The crazy thing is, and that's the Erie side, obviously, with you covering the weather for so long now, it is what happens as it's happening. And then literally minutes later, the sun was shining and people were like, you've got to be kidding me. That just happened, and now it's just this sunshine day. Weather is so eerie, and I know it's the fascinating side, obviously, what draws Beckett to this particular field. So let's break down what we are expecting, again, today, the timing of it all, as well as the rest of the week.
Yeah, so first though, I do want to show a couple damage photos. Yesterday, me and my dad went to an area that got heavily damaged. This is Academy Sherman Park neighborhood there in northern St. Louis, and you can see parts of the second floor of these homes are just totally ripped off, just devastating damage here. And if we let me go back here. If we look at some damage photos, you can see this car totally smashed in. These houses, part of the second floor is just totally ripped off. So horrible damage there in parts of the northern St. Louis City area. So looking at the current conditions right now, 68 degrees, mostly cloudy skies with a dew point around 57. Bus stop forecast today, 68. Cloudy with showers this morning. So a couple garden variety thunderstorms and showers are going to be possible around the area this morning. And then heading into this afternoon, mostly cloudy skies with a high of around 80 degrees. So this is the severe weather risk we are talking about as we head into tonight. Tonight around 8 to 10, 10 to 12, that's when we are looking for another severe weather threat. We're on a slight risk, 2 out of 5 risk from the Storm Prediction Center. If we look at our severe potential, overall pretty low across the board, nothing like Friday. Our highest would be that moderate with damaging winds, so a couple areas of damaging winds, some damaging gusts of winds are going to be possible as we head into the evening and into the overnight hours. So the timeline, as we head towards 6 to 8, that's when we'll really start to see the storms heading into the St. Louis area. 8 to 10, that's when storms are expected to really get into the St. Louis area, and that's when we could see that damaging wind. And then 10 to 12, it does calm down again. Another round, though, could be possible as we head after midnight from 12 to 2. But then as we head towards the early morning into Tuesday, it should calm down after that second round comes through. So today we do have a chance for those showers this morning, then a break midday, maybe some sunshine actually peeking through. And then as we head into, of course, the overnight, that's when we have the risk for some storms. Tomorrow, 81. Of course, we do have the risk for the storms in the morning, maybe a couple showers throughout the rest of the day. But overall, it's mainly in the early morning when we're watching for the risk for those storms. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, mostly sunny skies, but we will dip down into the 60s. Warm back up into the 70s Saturday and Sunday, but some more rain chances there for our weekend.
Well, look, I want you to rest that voice.
Yeah.
You don't
It's
sound
probably hard
good.
to
Do
listen
you
to.
feel okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, there's so many allergies out there, and then people getting colds left and right. And
Uh-huh.
I sounded like that for the last couple of weeks, and all of a sudden you're just like, my
Yeah.
nose. So take care of yourself. Thank you for all those pictures. And again, be safe tonight. That, of course, goes to Beckett and to each and every one of you. And then we'll talk to you again on Friday. Are you done with school by Friday?
Yes.
Are you done Thursday?
Thursday is my last day.
Oh, good. Well, then I can't wait to hear about how your summer's going to start.
Yeah.
All right, Beckett, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
All right, folks. And again, if you are just new to our show, isn't he amazing? Beckett Moore, you can follow him. His best channels are on YouTube and on X, Moore Weather Official. He is a wonderful aspiring meteorologist that's been with us for about a year and a half now. So, of course, Beckett was showing you some pictures. We had some security video, and I took a snapshot of it. This was in the Central West End. Just absolutely devastating to see. And the cleanup that is continuing, the debris that was all over the place, the toppling of the trees. The scariest thing right now are some of the power lines that are still down. Of course, there are neighbors that are coming out to help each other, patching the roofs, securing the windows, anticipating this another round of storm again, moving into the area later into today. But the community aspect is what I absolutely love. And still the community asking, what can we do? Well, there are resources and shelter locations that are in place. And I'm going to run through a handful of these. You can find out more at redcross.org. So Grace United Methodist Church is one of them. That's on Waterman Boulevard in St. Louis. Friendly Temple Outreach Center on Dr. Martin Luther King Drive. 12th and Park, the Recreation Center on South Tucker. City of Minor Convention Center on East Malone. That's in Sikeston, Missouri. In Marion, Illinois, there's one at Cornerstone Church on Walton Way. And in Decatur, Illinois, the Red Cross Decatur office on North Main Street. The Red Cross open opening an additional shelter today at Refresh Community Church, which is at 829 North Hanley. Again, you can go to redcross.org to get more information, or if you are in need to, have anyone help out with you, it's 1-800-RED-CROSS, or the St. Louis office is 314-516-2800. The cleanup, obviously, continuing. Federal Emergency Management Agency. Now, there's a lot of people also that are suffering from this from a financial standpoint, trying to figure out where do they go. Some are trying to stay with family and friends, but that's not all the easiest thing either. Also, pets. If your pet became lost during the storms, your pet hopefully had a microchip. You can contact the microchip company, notify them that your pet's lost. Make sure your contact information, though, is up to date. Call the Humane Society, the APA, the St. Louis County Animal Care Control, Stray Rescue maybe, to find out if in fact your animal may be there. But businesses, and as I said, humanity really stepping up as the community is asking, what can we do to help out? I mentioned earlier looking at the Ameren UE map and looking at the power outages that still exist from Friday. And when I went, I came here about an hour and a half ago. I was looking at the map and pulled those pictures up. It was about 9 to 10% in the St. Louis city that were still without power, but unfortunately, just as they're getting ready to get them back, will they lose it again? I'm obviously hoping that is not the case, but Ameren has been working feverishly, even though we all go there in our minds, right? When suddenly your power is still out days later, you're thinking, when will it ever be restored to my house? And as I mentioned, you can see those crews that are out there. So our thoughts and prayers going out to all of you that are still struggling from what happened just a few days ago. And of course, the 5 people whose lives were lost in the devastation on Friday. We also want to talk about lives that were lost here. And I was watching this video as the ship went by the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, I was trying to figure out how were lives lost with this. You saw one mast hit, and I took the snapshot as the second one was hitting. 2 dead, and crew members were injured in this as well. It was a Mexican Navy sailing ship on a global goodwill tour. It struck the Brooklyn Bridge in New York on Saturday. It snapped the 3-mast and it killed 2 crew members, leaving some sailors dangling from harnesses high in the air, waiting for help. The New York City mayor said the 142-year-old bridge was spared any major damage, but at least 19 people aboard that ship needed medical treatment, and 2 of the 4 people who suffered serious injuries later died. The cause of this collision is still under investigation. And I was watching the news yesterday, just kind of flipping around, looking at local, regional, and national news, of course, from what happened from the tornadoes, with St. Louis being on national news all over. And then it was this breaking news story about the former president and our current president, Donald Trump, reacting after Joe Biden was diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer. Last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. Of course, thoughts and prayers coming out. After a shocking debate performance while seeking re-election, Biden abandoned his bid for a second term. Then Vice President Kamala Harris became the nominee, of course, losing to Trump, who returned to the White House after a 4-year hiatus. And again, Trump's office coming out saying, Melania and I are saddened to hear about Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. So our thoughts and prayers going out to our former president. You know, we always talk about recall after recall after recall. There's another one, and this one affecting your ground beef. This happened just over the weekend. It was sold at Oakville's Schnucks. All the fresh ground beef purchased on Sunday before 2 p.m. at Schnucks Telegraph, which is at 5519 Oakville's shopping center, has been recalled. Customers who purchased the product with a sell-by date of May 19th should return it for a full refund or an exchange. Schnucks says there have been no reported illnesses, that's the good news, or injuries related to this recall, and it does not affect other Schnucks stores. Of course, if you are outside of our immediate area, just again trying to make sure we give some local, some regional, and and some national news. Here's some entertainment news for you. So, do we all remember when John Legend came and performed at the Muni, and when those tickets went on sale, it literally crashed their website? Well, I wonder if it'll happen again, because the legendary Diana Ross and Jon Batiste will be performing at the season finale at the Muni. And by the way, if you haven't looked at the Muni's lineup, you need to do so, because they have the most incredible lineup I've seen in years. But again, Diana Ross and Jon Batiste will be performing. That's going to be an amazing season finale concert. The Muni presents Diana Ross and Jon Batiste, a one-night-only concert. It will take place 8 p.m., August 28th. Tickets start at $75. They go on sale today at 9 a.m. Muni subscribers, Muni guaranteers, they can access their exclusive pre-sale starting at 10 a.m. The Muni will also have free seats available on a first-come, first-served basis. Details of those will be announced at a later date. Let me go back for a second. The guarantors and the subscribers of Muni, they had the pre-sale this past Friday, so the tickets go on sale to the general public, again, coming up in less than 2 hours, so we'll see what happens to the website. All right, let's get in some sports news. How about those Battlehawks? Get the cry going on. Caw-caw! Yes, the St. Louis Battlehawks doing amazing, and they will host the XFL Conference Championship. After Saturday's win against the Birmingham Stallions, the Battlehawks punched their ticket in and will face the DC Defenders at the Dome. The Defenders were not able to host the conference championship game due to a scheduled stadium event. Again, the UFL announcing yesterday afternoon the Battlehawks hosting the XFL Conference Championship, and that will be held on Sunday, June 8th. As I just mentioned, the Battlehawks won over the Birmingham Stallions. The final score was 29-28. And the Cardinals, unfortunately, losing. They lost to the Royals yesterday. The final score was 2-1. We've got the Tigers coming to town. First pitch today at 6:45. If you are going to the game, stay aware of the weather. Again, they could be moving in at that exact time and then going into later in the evening and into the early morning hours. If you are a soccer fan, St. Louis City SC, they're in action this coming Wednesday and again on Saturday. The Wednesday game is at 6:30 in town, also in town on Saturday with a game time of 8:30. They are just coming off of a loss to Minnesota. The final score was 3-0. And a few things on tap for you today in our National Day of calendar. Sometimes we have several to tell you about. Today, a few, and one of them is a dessert. Look at this picture. National Devil's Food Cake Day, gotta love it. National Roadie Day, and National May Ray Day. There you go. Now you're up to date in what's going on and what we consider to be news you can use. I do want to let you know, as soon as this show wraps up today at 8 o'clock, there is a special podcast with one of the girls that I work with here at Puncline Productions. We've got several shows, by the way, that are on tap, and the gentleman that we're going to be featuring today, he actually had a podcast, was on hiatus a bit. We'll let you know when he's bringing that back. But her name is Ashley Malin, and her show is all about healing. It's called This Is Where We Heal. And I want to show you a little clip of the show that we taped. Again, that will be launching on all the audio podcast platforms. You can also check it out on Puncline Productions page. Just go to the This Is Where We Heal podcast. We had very in-depth talks about many things, including this. I always ask my clients, how does that serve you? This 50 pounds you put on, or that toxic relationship, how does it serve you? The abuse that you're staying in, how does that serve you? Why? Let's get you out of it, because you have value. You are important. You are beautiful. You are kind. You're intelligent. All these things that you think that you're not. Well, those people that are telling you, they want you to be suffering, right? Don't stay silent. Instead, ask the questions. Why don't you believe in me? Why don't you think I can be this? Why don't you think I deserve this promotion or deserve this relationship that I'm in? Ask those questions, and sometimes they can be hard. Be willing to have the answer that comes back. The people who love you enough will say, well, let me guide you with this, right? Let's shift. I love that we all use the word shift, because people have an aversion to the word change. So we all started using the word shift. Shift your pattern, right? And then let's see what happens with it. All right, extremely powerful. There are so many things that Ashley and I talked about, and I really would love for you to check it out and start following her, by the way. Ashley Malin, again, it's called This Is Where We Heal. So whether it's the audio podcast that you love to listen to, throw those earbuds on, go out for a walk, a run, or just sit in kind of a meditative state, you're going to learn a lot. You might cry with us, you might laugh with us, and you might get educated. So again, 8 o'clock this morning, that will be dropping. Check it out. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, another gentleman, again, that had a podcast called Rugged and Ruthless. We'll also talk about his company, his camo company called Rugged and Ruthless, and the hunting side, okay? You know that I could never hurt an animal, but I understand after 30 years ago when I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I sat down. It was one of my most powerful early interviews that I did. And what happened that day was, talk to me, make me understand, educate me. We're going to continue the education. We're going to talk about the spiritual side of hunting as well, that entrepreneurial spirit, as well as camo line of clothes that you might want to be interested in. So Joey Griffith will be my guest when we return.
Carroll House Furniture Homes look the best because of our free design service. Our designers please your taste.
Let's reimagine your room with 50 brand name choices.
We'll create a 3D design with a 360 view for your room.
Free design services are just the beginning. Free 0% financing, fast free delivery and setup, and the guaranteed lowest prices in the country with no stipulations.
You'll get a perfect custom floor plan for your new dream room.
Carroll House Design, because you like nice things.
This lady got me in the best shape of my life. I literally didn't know that I could be in shape like that. But the amount that she pours into her clients, and especially whenever you get the one-on-one training, it's mind-blowing. I mean, it was really life-changing. I learned so much about proper form, about nutrition, about just being able to invest in myself. I hired Monica to be my personal trainer, which was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
I just want to say I had an absolutely amazing time getting together with you and talking about how everybody can make a day just a little bit better than it was yesterday. You're doing tremendous things. I just love the spirit in which you want to help those around you and help your community. You've always been like that. What a great time, what a great show. I love our fellowship. I look forward to doing more with you in the future and checking out a few of these churches and seeing where our paths are going to cross and what kind of fun and entertainment and love we can bring to the table. I love this and I think you're doing a killer job, so love you.
And welcome back again. Thanks for tuning in to The Real Monica Adams Show. I am your host, Monica Adams, and as I just mentioned, our guest today, Joey Griffith. Let's welcome Joey aboard. So you had a podcast here called Rugged and Ruthless.
Mhm.
You're resurrecting it?
So the rebranding, we went from Duck Blind Mafia, Deer Blind Mafia for the whole clothing brand. We ended up changing it to Rugged and Ruthless. The hunting side and the camo is still going to be Duck Blind Mafia and Deer Blind Mafia, but we switched everything to Rugged and Ruthless. So I decided to take a little bit of a hiatus.
Okay, well, there's some clips that we'll be mixing in throughout the show from the ability to go and watch those. They're still on the Puncline Productions page. So if you go to that on YouTube, you'll be able to check some of these out. The Rugged and Ruthless name, where did it come from?
So it's a lifestyle. So for us, it was some army buddies and some hunting buddies, and we got together, and we never ever did anything that was easy. and we became rugged and ruthless with each other. And the name just kind of stuck, and it just kind of became like our mantra, like we're rugged and ruthless. And I just liked the name and went from there.
I love it. Well, and I love what you just said also, because I say that a lot with my clients, whether it's a personal training client or a life coaching client. I always talk about never stay comfortable, like getting in that uncomfortable side of life, whatever it may look like, whether it's physical or mental or spiritual. It's, oh my gosh, I can do hard things. What does getting uncomfortable mean to you?
Oh man. So I never sit still. I just don't. I mean, and you see me walking around here, I'm constantly moving. For me, it's mostly if it's hard, then I want to do it because you can't be tough without doing tough things.
Right.
So when I sit and I'm lazy or I'm tired, I feel complacent. And I think, okay, what can I do to better myself, better the people around me? And that's just how I live my life. If I'm the guy that wants to take the tough jobs.
Yeah.
And it's just how I've lived my life since I was a kid.
What do you learn most from taking on the tough jobs, taking on the mental and the physical side of it all?
Oh, realistically, it has a lot to do with the fact how far you can push yourself in your mind and body. People don't realize how capable you are of doing something great, but people just want to take the easy route. I grew up in the country. I started in Florida, then moved to the country. Everybody came from North County at some point. I grew up playing in Coldwater Creek, matter of fact, which is kind of funny with my cousins. But throughout my life, my family never let me settle for anything less than I was worth. So my grandparents, my aunt, my uncles, they said, you can do better. You can do better. If I got a B in a test, I had to get an A. If I got a 95, I needed to get a 97. My family always pushed me to the next level. And as an adult, and I have a son now myself, I'm doing the same thing with him. It's like, could you have done a little bit better? Yes. Could you study a little more? Yes.
Yeah.
And with that, that's how I live my life. It's just, you got to keep pushing forward. And I surround myself with people that are the same way. I don't surround myself with lazy people. If I'm pulling them forward, they're just holding me back.
Right.
So I'm saying, hey, come find me when you can get on my level.
Let's discuss that a little bit more. Again, if you're just tuning in, Joey Griffith, we're talking about Rugged and Ruthless, and we'll put on the screen how you can find his company, Rugged and Ruthless. And we also have a couple of the hoodies and a polo that you can find as well. So it initially was a different name, as you said. It was, what was the initial?
Originally, it was Duck Blind Mafia.
Duck Blind Mafia. Okay, yeah, and that's what you're seeing here. But now, Rugged and Ruthless, so rebranding a little bit for you. So if you are looking for camo, I want you to support Joey and his company. They can go to your website.
RuggedandRuthless.com.
Make it easy, right? RuggedandRuthless.com. But that aspect of being a father and in a world where a lot of people say, oh, these kids are so soft, right? And they're blaming parents. You're saying, I'm going to be tough, not so tough that my kid can't stand me, but tough to say, this is how you get ready for the world. How old is your son?
He is 7 years old.
Okay.
And very big.
Okay, so people aren't going to mess with him in life.
Yeah, no, he's like 4'2" and like 107 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I love
he's
it.
a big kid.
What are the greatest things that you teach him as a father?
I teach him endurance because there's no short way through life. I mean, either way, you can have a good day where things are fast, but you're still going to have to live the next day, even if it's hard. Yeah. So I say, hey, man, today was a bad day. Let's push forward. What did you learn? There's never, in my world, there is never, especially teaching my son, there is never a bad day. There's only learning experiences. And one of the things I said, be kind, be respectful, be truthful, but also don't let people push you around because it becomes very easy to be the victim. You're only the victim if you allow yourself to be the victim. And especially being a guy and trying to raise a young son, he's always been bigger. So we had problems in school when he was younger where kids would push him and then he thought it was fun. He'd push him back. Well, he was always bigger than them. He would get in trouble.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's what I figured would happen. And that's where I was going in my mind of teaching him resilience, teaching him to speak up for himself. And this is what I want you all to learn as parents. There's a way to teach you to stick up for yourself without being a bully.
Exactly. And that's something I'm an advocate for, being in the Army. There's a lot of places you go where you're loved, but there's a lot of places you go where you were hated. You have to learn that mentality and how you were brought up and how you were raised and how you are raising someone. That's the difference between them being soft or them being hard. I don't want my kid to be so tough where he's going to shut the world out. Right. But I want him to say, hey, look, you're going to grow up and days are going to be bad. You may have a week, a month, a year that's bad. but it's how you get up the next morning, start your day, is what makes it worthwhile.
You just mentioned that you were in the Army, so military-owned company. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you.
You know, we look at the military now, and it's also kind of blends in with what we just mentioned. There are a lot of people who say, oh my gosh, the military that I was in compared to the military that's now, we can't yell at them. We can't tell them to do this and that. Do you think that's a dangerous thing?
I think it's very dangerous. So when I was a combat engineer, demolitions. There was no softness to it. You were in the field, you were breaking down doors, you were doing all those things. Um, and the softer we get, we have to look at ourselves on a world stage, not as a localized thing. People look to us we are the angels. You know, I have this poster in my room that says, a little kid in another country prays for an angel. I'll be there in 2 minutes. I'm jumping out of a plane to get there for him. We have to be strong, and our will to be strong has to be even stronger. And the military needs to be tough. That's why it's the military.
Right.
I mean, the Romans didn't conquer everything because they were weak, you know. But no, I think we need to also change our mindset with it too. I think everybody needs to change their mindset. If you want to be tough, do the tough things.
Right.
But I think a lot of times, though, people look at us as bullies. We're not bullies.
No. And again, you're doing tough things. I mean, the things that you all see on the battlefield, or I talk about my husband and what he sees as a lieutenant with the police. You know, we look at police and fire. They have to be tough. They have to be resilient. I don't know why we got to a point, and you all can feel free to comment on any of this, why we got to a point where we felt, oh no, we got to be really delicate. We got to be careful with them. Because if that's the case, and then you're going out and seeing the things that you're seeing and going through the hard times, I don't know how you even would deal with that.
Well, it's not about being physically tough. It's a mental tough, like mentally toughness. My mom was in the Army, so she was military intelligence. So she used her brain a lot. So we didn't get away with anything as kids. Trust me, my sisters and I got away with nothing. But the reality is, though, I never realized how far I could push myself to have that drive, to have that confidence, to have all that until I joined the military. I grew up seeing military. You know, I grew up seeing the Army firsthand since I was born on a military installation. But my mind has taken me a lot farther than my muscles ever could take.
Absolutely.
Take me. So,
How old were you when you went in?
I was 18.
18.
Ready to go. I joined up April 4th of 2001 before 9/11.
And so what do you think that military background has taught you in your professional life and in your personal life?
Realistically, it's that there's no failure. The only time you have failure is when you allow yourself to fail. I may not succeed, but I'm definitely not failing. So it taught me to keep pushing forward through the pain, through the anguish, through the anxiety. Just keep pushing forward. One of my favorite sayings that I have that I tell people when they ask me, how do you do it? I say, just because you're walking through hell doesn't mean you have to stop. If you stop, that's because you want to stop. I'm not saying, hey, today was tough. I just keep pushing forward.
Right. And it's kind of like what we all saw happen with the storms on Friday, that people think, are we going to stay in this? No, community's going to come out. You hope, as you just said, you surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up. You don't surround yourself with lazy people or people who are toxic or drama filled. You surround yourself with we surround ourselves with what we want to become, ideally, but we also look at what we surround ourselves with and realize why we became what we are and how do we break out of that. We've got to change what's around us, right?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. If I'm the smartest person in the circle, I'm in the wrong circle.
I love that comment.
Because that's how it is. And us being St. Louisans, we deal with a lot of stuff because we kind of get overlooked as a big city because we're really not a big city. We're not. I mean, Cleveland's really small. Places I've been are small, but that's one thing I love about St. Louis. And I've traveled the world. St. Louis, people look out for each other. There is not a city that I've been to. We are an island in the middle of the country, and we look out for each other. And I could have traveled anywhere. I could have lived anywhere, but St. Louis is my home, and I will never leave.
I always love this. So depending on where people are, obviously from the United States, they either call us the Midwest or they call us the South. And all of us that have lived here, we're like, we're not the South, but to some, we are the South.
Yeah, we get in that argument all the time about are we Midwestern? Because, people up north say we're Southern, people in the South say we're Northern, and we're just like, I just say we're the island. I call St. Louis the 15-minute city, and anybody that's not from St. Louis, 15, 20 minutes in any direction, you're in the country.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like the city is in the middle of nowhere, and But I don't consider us anything. I just consider us what we want to be. We're from the Show Me State for a reason.
Absolutely. And I always looked at it as we are a big city with a small town heart. And the heart, I tell you what, has been on display big time over the last few days. Do you have any family or friends that were affected by the storms Friday?
Not really, but my sister, when the storms came through St. Louis, she's a lawyer, and she was in her high-rise office when it went through. And I said, "Are you okay?" She's like, "It was crazy."
Oh, yeah.
Where I live, like I said, like I told you earlier, we got 60 seconds of rain. It wasn't even that windy. But people that I know 15 minutes down the road, I mean, it was devastating.
Absolutely.
Like I was surprised. It was since the May 5th tornado, the Good Friday tornado.
Right. Yes.
It's the last time one went through St. Louis like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. And again, if you're just tuning in, yes, we have our thoughts and prayers going out to all, and we're telling you again to be weather aware because we have some more severe weather, and the conditions are saying that we could even see tornadoes again. So be aware later into this evening and again into tomorrow morning. All right, we're going to take a quick break. If you have any comments, questions about anything that Joey and I have talked about, feel free to drop them in now, or if you watch later, do a little hashtag replay and feel free to comment on those as well. We're going to transition into hunting. Okay, big animal lover. He's like, wait, here we go. So I was mentioning this. It's what, 30? I've been doing this for 2.5 years. So 32 years ago, one of my very first interviews when I worked at a station in Festus, Missouri, was talking about hunting. And boy, did the phone lines light up. At the end of the show, it was so powerful that the guy who was such a strong, passionate hunter, and myself, who was this young 23, 24-year-old girl who was this big animal lover that never understood, we were on the same page because we communicated. And it helped, right? And that's what I'm hoping you all listen to today. So we're going to talk more with Joey Griffith from Rugged and Ruthless when we return.
Hello, everyone. Joe Thomaser with Weingarten Vineyard here. Just had a great day at the set of The Real Monica Adams Show. I think the biggest takeaway and the biggest word for the day for me is passion. You can see with her craft of how passionate that she is to provide a different view from what she had done in her past career, now in a new career. She made today so easy, and it was easy for me as well, because we share that passion for what we do. When it's doing interviews on set, giving a different view on life, essentially, and different experiences for you guys. Today could not have gone better. I most definitely encourage you guys to continue to tune in to her shows, and maybe you'll see me back again. You will see me back again. Sorry, Monica.
So this out here is what you guys see.
It's hard. I can't. I'm not trying to carry everything out.
Well, he's been in my life since I can remember. I shot my first gun with Ted. It was a shotgun. Bob blew my shoulder off, but then
those characters.
See, guys, you hear this on my podcast. Where do you think I get it from? We've almost blown each other up more than once.
Well, that's
we have to.
That's having fun with fireworks.
And then we drank 4 jars of moonshine on the way from the wedding venue to the reception, which
it was smooth.
Our life was like the Wild West.
We'd get them city kids out here shooting firearms.
Well, you learn something new every day.
That's my backyard. That's my family's
right in the middle of us.
This is your family's
okay.
backyard.
You know, as long as you weren't looking at it, you're probably fine.
I mean, I have this permanent debt on the son of this kid.
That was already there.
It was already there.
All right, I'm going to tell you the same thing, Joy. The very first time I had ever had a gun, they had me go through at Bush Wildlife. I was at WIL at the time, and I was doing this big story on how many women were wanting to learn how to shoot. So this was probably back in the early 2000s, and it was more and more and more women. So the guys were like, come out, and what do you want to shoot? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, okay, well, we're going to bring every gun that we have. So I shoot this little 22, and I was like, well, that was nothing. Ping, 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 right? And they're like, you want to keep going? I was like, yeah, I did a 12 gauge. I did a 20 gauge shotgun. What's the deer rifle? 30-aught
It just depends on how far you want to go, but 30-06,
30
somewhere in
out 6.
there.
That's what
Yeah.
it was. That's the one that I was like, ouch, done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how old were you when you first had a gun?
Oh, I think I've been shooting since 6 or 7 years old. I mean, we grew up on a farm too,
Yeah.
so
So was that from dad, from an uncle, from grandpa? Who taught you?
I
You just
couldn't
picked
tell
it up?
you. It was my Uncle Ted. It was everybody's like, "Hey, let's go do this," or "You need to try this." And I'm one of the only guys in the family, so they're like, "Oh, you're going to do this." And yeah, I've had some shoulder issues since. I blame them for it.
You have sisters?
I have 2 sisters. Yes, ma'am.
Do they also shoot?
I mean, they're more of the like one's an engineer, one's a lawyer, so they'll do it if we're doing it or shooting skeet or something, but not so much.
Okay, I was just gonna say. So that's the thing. So when you're all listening, going, "Oh wait, so you have shot, not an animal." I've gone target shooting, and that I love. There's something very powerful about it, empowering about it. I've done trap, I've done skeet. Again, all those things are fun. You gotta get me, because I'm gonna still go through this as a person who is a huge, huge, huge animal lover. We've got deer that run around in our backyard, and I look at them and I'm like, there's 13, 16 deer up there. And then of course I have guy friends and girlfriends that will tease me and go, "Oh, good. So tell me when they're out there, I'll come out with my gun." I'm like, stop it. So for an animal lover to understand hunting, just break it down for us first.
Okay, so for one thing, I am an animal lover. If it's not in season, I feel guilty about anything that dies. I don't even like to kill flies and things like that. But you have to realize the last 100 years when hunting really kind of became a taboo. Before that, people were still hunting to eat. The conservationist department, things like that. Most hunters are the biggest conservationists. They really are. They know the seasons. They want a good breeding season. They don't want to see things die off. They're actually big on conservation. It's one of those things where I enjoy the season. I eat anything that I kill. I don't just shoot for fun. If I kill a turkey, I'm eating it. And if I kill a duck, I'm eating it.
Good.
I don't really deer hunt. That's my friend's department. But what I say, if it flies, it dies.
So your first hunt was what? Do you remember?
Probably quail or pheasant. Probably.
So I wore these on purpose for him today. We just went to Fredericksburg, Texas, and we went and stayed at a place called Fritztown Farms. That entire place, they're all about whatever they have there, that they use it to every ability, right? So these are actually shells of a quail egg.
Oh,
isn't that cool?
That is actually pretty cool, like opal color. Right?
Yeah.
Those are really nice.
Yeah.
I like those.
So it was, and they started telling me about all these things that they do. They're like, we're going to use the animal for everything that we possibly can. That's what I appreciate. The thing that I never, ever, ever will understand is the whole thing of just shooting for fun and then holding the animal in the picture and showing it like this trophy. And then they're like, no, I don't need it. And that, I don't know, help me understand that mentality.
Well, so one thing that I'm very big on is if I say I'm hunting ducks, let's use duck season because I love ducks. But the thing is though, that's organic. So a lot of the stuff you get in the store, the taste is completely different. Like if you shoot a wild turkey and then you go to Thanksgiving, it's a lot of brown meat. It's a lot of dark meat. The stuff that you're getting from, the store is a lot of white meat. Well, people can be picky now. Before people couldn't be picky, so they had to eat what they had. And it's just more of a tradition because I really truly believe that hunting keeps everything regulated. You can't grow outside of your aquarium, but look at what's going on with the armadillos. Okay, there's if you don't regulate, hunters are regulators, but they're conservationists. Nobody that I know of just shoots to kill things.
Good.
I get a phone call, hey, I got a deer. We all go and help. We all go, we gut it. We do everything together. I mean, most people think that's gross. And for a lot of people nowadays it is, but 100 years ago, that was just a normal thing.
Right.
We forget that we came in the mid 1800s. We were still hunting and fishing for food every day.
Right.
There wasn't stores. It's convenience now where there's a problem, not the fact of hunting.
Again, if you're just tuning in, let me reintroduce my guest, Joey Griffith. We're talking about hunting. We're talking about several things in today's show, but you literally just nailed it. If you go back, just in the beginning of life, men were hunters, gatherers. Right? It was the protection side of it all. I'm going to go out, I'm going to provide for my family. And that really has not changed for a lot of people. It's just, what do you do with it? There are a lot of girls now on TikTok and Instagram, which are making me laugh. And they're like, let me hold my dumbbell and pose like guys do with their kill. You've seen these things, right?
Yes, very much so.
Or anything that a woman had. Let me pose with my purse. Let me hold it like this. Why do we have to see the pictures of the dead animal? That's the true trophy?
Well, let's be real here. You can choose not to look at them.
Ugh, but it's on our feed.
Well, I
And I
mean,
see it, and then I go,
well, but the thing is though too, my big thing is I'm just being a man. Like it's been a tradition. So I'm just continuing the tradition. And I've noticed, one thing that I have noticed from traveling and hunting, I'm finding that a lot more women are in the sport.
well, I was just going to go into that next. It absolutely true. And when I used to hear that, I was like, wow, really? But I see guys, fathers and mothers that are teaching their young girls at a very young age. I have a cousin, and I think she was one of the very first, and she was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and she was out there hunting deer with her dad. And I was like, oh my gosh, because we think of young girls as being so delicate and angelic, but that's not true, right? There's girls that want to be the pretty dressed up girls, and then there's the tomboy girls. There's the girls who want to be the hunters. We really have to, I guess, as a parent, you would say, introduce them to anything in life, and then they'll find what they love.
Exactly. I mean, you're just rowing upstream for them for a little bit.
Yeah.
They get to start having their own paddle at some point. So you have to let them. And my son cannot wait to go duck hunting with me. I haven't taken him yet. He could have went with me. I haven't taken him yet because I want him to understand and appreciate what he's actually doing.
Okay.
That comes with a lot of knowledge. Hunting comes with a lot of reading, research. I don't know one hunter that isn't out 3 months before season figuring out what they're going to do. I'm constantly renewing and revamping my current stock. I'm watching bird reports. It takes a lot of work to hunt. I mean, one of my favorite things is hunting's a lot like life. You can do all the prep in the world. You can get out there and you just sit there and do nothing, but you did all the work. Sometimes people don't realize that hunting is very, very difficult. It's not easy.
Sure.
You're out in the elements, you're out in the weather. It's hard.
We're actually going to talk, we're doing a couple of shows in a row about this. We're going to talk tomorrow to a friend of ours here who owns Adventure Unknown, Scott Schusler, who just came back from one of the toughest hunts of his life and what he went through that most people are lucky to last 3, 4, 5, 6 days. He went all the way. This was the first time he ever did. And the mental side, the physical side, the demand on him, as well as the spiritual side of it, which is where I'm going to transition in just a second. Since you've been hunting, what percentage would you say of a switch that you've seen to women? What number would you put it at?
Oh man, before 7, 8 years ago, and you can attribute this to the Duck Dynasty because there's a lot. I will attribute to this. When I was younger, I don't remember seeing a woman. I just don't. I don't remember it. And now I'm saying about 25 to 30% in some places are women, young girls too. It's girl. You see, I'm from the 90s. Women did different things in the 90s.
Yes.
But they're getting back to the roots, and I really like that. But I'm seeing a lot more getting in the field and hunting.
And by the way, so any of you women, if you are a hunter, feel free to drop a comment and let us know when you started, by the way, and what do you hunt? That's the other thing. From a man to a woman, do you think women stick with just 1 or 2 things, and guys are more like, oh, I'll do birds, I'll do deer, I'll do this, I'll do that? What are you seeing women hunt?
Everything.
Is that pretty broad? It is broad. Okay.
It is. I mean, you got to remember, so a lot of guys, look at our population. If you look, we're on a population decline, which we are, because we're not, for 2 people, you have to have 3 to increase, 2 to stay even, and 1, one child, you're decreasing. A lot of guys are having like 1 girl. They're turning them into the little boys, and then they are like, I've seen this past, I was up at Eagle Bluff in Columbia, and this dad was like, all right, we're going hunting today. And this girl could have been more than 10. And she was so excited. I saw her at the end of the day. She was frozen. And dad's like, you want to do it again? She's like, I don't know. Yeah. but then I saw her a couple weeks later, and I was like, okay, she came back out. Because a lot of times it's an experience. And like you said, spiritual.
Yes.
Man, it is a spiritual experience.
That's the part I want to go into. So we're going to take another break. I'll look at some comments. Good morning to all of you, by the way, that have signed on. I didn't have a chance to say good morning to you, just one fell swoop. Good morning, good morning, good morning. If you or someone you know is a hunter, talk about it. Talk about what the experience means to you. And we'll talk also about Rugged and Ruthless and the company, and again, how you can get some of the new branded gear. Again, we gave the website earlier. We'll do all that for you as well. Joey Griffith with Rugged and Ruthless when we return.
My house is so outdated and old. Can you help?
Let's take down this wall and add a support beam there.
Or just replace the furniture.
love it.
New sofa, chaise lounge, and tables from Carroll House.
What about this bedroom?
Let's tear down this wall.
Or a new bed, dresser, and accessories.
It's like a whole new room.
Get free in-home design, fast free delivery, and free financing too. Skip the remodel. Add new furnishings from Carroll House for your new perfect room. Because you like...
Hunters are the biggest conservationists. I mean,
That's
we
my
really
best
are.
friend in
Like,
that one.
you know, you have your young kids that make everybody look bad, understandable, but
Without hunters, there is
That's
no
my best friend.
conservation.
He-
You can have a good
Yeah, his
time.
name is Ray. He
When
was
the
in the
birds
Army.
come
He was a
in,
tanker.
get your head down, shut everybody up, and just get to work.
Once you have a good caller that
My
can
friend Travis, he's
figure
an
out
avid
what
deer
the
hunter.
birds
He
want,
goes
they shut it off.
hard.
They know they're locked up. They're coming in. That is key to success, is what I've noticed.
If you're going out just in a group, it's the camaraderie that you find in the duck blind, the pit. Hell,
And it's kind of a catch-22 because when the birds come in, we all put our heads down. You're not seeing them working. You're catching them on the tail, and you got one person that's kind of ducked down, looking around, trying to see where they're at, what to call, what to do.
There's always one or two guys that doesn't matter. Every time they squeeze the trigger, something falls.
So that's your best friend?
Ray, yeah, that's my best friend. Those two, Travis and Ray. Yep, they're
And
some
so,
of my best friends.
and you were just talking about, like, again, go back into the mindset of hunters being conservationists.
Yeah, we have to be because, everything has a cycle. Life has a cycle. I mean, we're circular. Every year the ducks go south, they go north, and they have to rebreed, and they go up into Canada and places like that. They get into the nice warm waters like the marshy areas, and they breed. Well, yeah, I mean, they have that cycle has to happen. And some years we've had lower duck numbers. We always can get 6, but certain ones like the bluebill one year we could only get 1. When the year before we could get 2 because the breeding wasn't conducive for more birds that year. So we have to constantly watch the numbers, what we can shoot, things like that.
The spiritual side is what we're going to talk about in just a second. Joe just said hunting is not a hobby. It's part of who that person is.
I agree.
You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 seasons in my life, duck season and waiting for duck season.
Which, by the way, when is duck season?
Just depends. I generally start my season in October up in Wisconsin. I end generally in February down in the south someplace. So I follow the birds. I track the flight every year.
And so from a hunting standpoint, are you only shooting guns or do you also do bow hunting?
Oh, I'm not doing that anymore. That's a lot of
Oh,
work.
but you did? It's a lot of
I had
work.
when I was younger. I like birds. I'm not deer hunting. I never really got into it. I have done it. I just never really got into it.
So what about big game hunting? Like, we're going to talk to Scott tomorrow.
Oh, next time he goes, I want to go.
You want to go?
Oh yeah.
What draws you to big game hunting?
It's not really the big game hunting. It's the outdoors. I am a person that finds solace in being in the woods and being out in the middle of nowhere. That's where I'm happiest.
Where have your excursions taken you to?
Oh, I mean, the Army took me all over the world, but I've been to, the Dakotas. I've been to, Wisconsin. I mean, I just make around anywhere I can go to hunt, I'll go.
So let's talk about the spiritual side and obviously where it takes you, whether it's here or you've traveled for that. The spiritual side of hunting, explain that to me.
So first and foremost, I'm a huge believer in God. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. But, the spiritual side, it's a routine, but it's also an awakening. Like I can't explain it. It's like you get up at midnight, you get out there, you get your stuff, you drive 2-3 hours to get where you're going. You're out there putting all your decoys out. You're standing in water that's, 33 degrees and you're throwing decoys, you're moving around, you're trying to do it all in the dark. And then you see the most beautiful sunrise and you realize somebody created that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I have some of the best pictures I have are of sunrises for colors that I didn't even know existed and different places all over. And knowing that the sun's going to come up, it comes back to being circular. I know the sun's going to come up. I know it's going to go down. And I love to see it every day.
Well, and again, you mentioned earlier, and if you missed any part of the show, go back. That's the beauty of streaming. Go back and watch the beginning of Joey and I talking because you mentioned that it's hard work, that you're out there, and there's a lot of time waiting. Mm-hmm. There's struggle and strife that happens. It's the mental side of, I want to get out there. I want to get my bird or deer or whatever it is that you're out there for. It doesn't always happen, and you have to be okay with that and still want to get back out there and do it again.
Yeah, for every 5 bad days, you have one really good day. And what we always say is like fishing. You fish all day, don't get anything, but you get that one nibble, it keeps you coming back. For us, you know, if the birds aren't flying that day, you can have 2 or 3 days where you don't take a shot, but you get up the next morning and you grind and you get it done. And you say, okay, and then you have one good day, it makes it all worthwhile.
And then there's a lot. Tell me about, and this kind of continues into the spiritual path of it all. There's a lot of time you're alone.
hmm
There's a lot of time that your mind could be going wherever, but I think that's truly meditation.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. And well, you got to remember, like, so when I'm duck hunting, I generally have 2 or 3 guys with me, and we kind of joke. We say we can solve the world's problems in a duck blind because you know these people so well that you know when you pull up or you pick them up or they pull up to the blind, you know something's wrong. And you know when you have 2 or 3 hours sometimes before you can actually first shot like where you can shoot, you have some deep conversations. And just like Vegas, what happens in the blind stays in the blind. We all talk about things and we just let it all out. And then it's like, okay, we're free.
This is the interesting side, though. You probably know where I'm going with this, especially with men. Those things that you all talk about, I wish you would talk more and more and more about, because that's for women, we say that's what truly heals you. It's the fact that a lot of times it's kept and suppressed inside of you, or it's only said man to man, but it's when the breakthrough happens and men are able to say, okay, fine, I'm going to say these things and it's okay to say them. Do you think that what is said in the duck blind will ever take itself out of it? Or is it this brotherhood of, no, don't break this?
Well, I mean, it really depends on the conversation. We talk about everything from marriages, relationship breakups. We talk about it all, and a lot of times we'll send each other stupid memes from TikTok. I mean, we do a lot of things, but most of the time it's where we can, because there's no judgment.
There you go.
We're all there for the same thing. We're all there watching the birds. We're all there doing the same thing, and a lot of times I get wives asking me like, you guys talk about that, you get home, you don't. Well,
That's where I'm going with it.
well, the thing is that we're all aimed in the same direction and we're all at the same speed. Relationships aren't highways and bike paths. You have to be at the same speed, at the same level, at the same time. When we're guys, there's a trust there that just naturally happens. So we're like, hey, what's going on with this? How did, my goddaughter do in her softball game? Or how did this happen? And it's that freedom to say it without judgment.
So you feel that when you get home that you would be judged by a wife or a girlfriend?
Well, in the duck blind we share experiences. So if I'm a hunter and you're not, say like we were talking about before, you're a lover of animals. Every year I go to visit my cousin who has a starter farm and she's on the news like we had talked about earlier, offline. But she's an animal lover, but she understands why I do it.
Yes.
But in the duck blind there's a brotherhood there. And you don't share those experiences, so it's hard for you to grasp what we're trying to describe.
But if a woman, because you did say a lot of women are obviously coming to the sport now, if a woman's in that duck blind with you, that conversation, would it stay the same? Would it change?
When it happens, I'll let you know.
This is a good question, right?
No, it's a great question. I know some women that'll do it, but a lot of times the women, unless it's like a boyfriend or girlfriend, a lot of times the women kind of do their own thing. They'll go hunting on their own.
Okay.
They don't want to go with the guys. They want to have that same mentality that we're having in the duck blind.
Because that's what I was wondering. Is it women staying with women, or is it women and men, or is it couples going together? Because I know Scott and Johanna are both hunters here at Adventure Unknown. Do they go together, or does she go with women? Do you know?
Well, so Scott and I went on a hunt to one of his farm in Illinois, and his daughter went, and she was one of the guys. And you've seen her working around here. She's a hard worker.
Yes, she is.
She was out there. It was myself, Scott, Kevin, and her, and man, she rocked it out. And I was actually very impressed with her. But she was a guy, and we talked to her like she was a guy.
Oh, okay, good. That's what I was going to say, because I think if it gets to a point where you're just like, okay, well, you understand it, you're in the thick of it with us, it suddenly becomes, I'm not seeing whether you're a man or a woman. It's the fact that you know this walk of life. And then the conversation stays there.
Well, it's hard. It's like say you don't hunt, but I do, and say we were a couple, hypothetically. You're going to ask me about the hunt, but you're not going to understand the hunt. So
Correct.
It's hard for me to describe the emotions, the anxiety, watching the birds come in. It's hard for me to describe because you've never experienced it.
Right.
So, but when you unlock, it's like a key. Once you turn that key and you have the same shared experience, everything else becomes very easy to talk about.
It's funny that he went there, right? Because I used to, when I was dating before I met Jim, I would date guys and I was like, I can't date a hunter. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't want to hear about it. And then I thought, well, that's not fair, because if that's their passion, they don't have to necessarily talk to me about it. I don't have to go and talk about me dancing or doing this and doing that. He might say, oh, honey, I hope you did great, but I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about the dance, right? But lift each other up. That's really the biggest thing here. So if you have a partner that does that, it's not to knock them down. It's what they want to do. It's their love. And that's where I've come over the last several decades, is I get it now. I've got tons and tons of family. I mean, in fact, my uncle was a big hunter, and he was actually the one that wanted to take me. And I was like, I don't want to do it, but I can go trap shooting and skeet shooting with you. And he's like, great, let's do that together. And then it becomes this incredible partnership that you have, or you pull generations together, which I love, right? You think of all the grandpas and the dads that are out there with their sons and daughters. That to me gives me chills when it's, look at this connection that's happening, this, whether it's the families or whether it's friends, like I said, coming together. Joe, who was commenting earlier, let's see, I don't want to miss anybody's comment. Joe said, Monica, you need to go on a quail or a pheasant hunt and watch bird dogs work the fields. I was just going to get into the animal side in just a second. I think you would enjoy to work out, lots of walking, etc. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just going to say, the amount of work that animals do on hunts, helping out those bird dogs that are out there, that's another whole spiritual side. What do they mean to you?
Well, so I don't have a bird dog. I have a Billy. It's my buddy. He always gets he always goes and gets the birds. But my friends have hunting dogs. Those dogs take a lot of training. I mean, it's every day, 365 days a year. They can't move. They can't, especially duck hunting. They're sitting, they have to swim in water that's freezing cold.
Yes.
Those dogs are disciplined. But the problem is they're just as good as their owner. I've been out with good hunting dogs and I've been out with really crappy hunting dogs. It's the owner, and it's training. And it comes back like the military. I didn't have anybody grow up that hunted. My grandpa did before I was born. None of my family hunts. My mom is a big advocate for animals. Like, I'm not allowed to hunt geese out at the family farm because she loves to watch them. But she understands that I do it.
Right.
And she doesn't judge me for it. It's a lot about judgment.
There you go. I was just going to say, I never judged. I just never understood, right? And then when I started talking to hunters more and more, and that's really all that we all need to do, is have an open mind, come to the table and let them talk, and then understand why it takes place. So what age do you think that you'll take your son?
Oh, he's going this year.
Oh, he's going this year?
Oh, this is the year. I got him his first 20 gauge. This summer, we're going to really work on gun safety.
I was just going to go to the safety
we're big advocates. Like, we're all other than one of us, Billy, we're all ex-military. So we're all very adamant about safety. Safety comes first.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say that. And so my husband has taken me out. I haven't shot my gun in a long time though. And he's like, yeah, we got to do that again. And I said, you're going to take me back through it all, because I don't think anybody should ever have a gun in their hand unless you feel so comfortable with loading it, cleaning it, every aspect of it, and respect that gun.
Oh yeah. I mean, when my son was born, I was more scared of holding him than holding the fire. But my mom was in the Army. I grew up seeing this stuff.
Yeah.
I can understand where people don't understand it and can understand why a lot of the things. But again, if I'm not going to judge you, don't judge me.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go back into the company. So you rebranded again, Rugged and Ruthless. You just rebranded how long ago?
Like a month and a half ago.
A month and a half ago.
Yeah.
So what is all available on your website? Because for all of our hunters that are out there, or really just anybody that's an outdoorsman that would like, we're looking at some of the pictures of the camo that you can get. Do you have a favorite on there?
So actually everything, so you'll see BR1 and C3D. I actually name all the clothing, and we have more that's coming out. I name it after the kids of Duck Blind Mafia.
Oh.
So C3D is named for my son, Christian. It's Christian's 3D camo. The other one, which is the darker, that is BR1 after Blakely Ray, my goddaughter. And I have more coming out, and I'm naming it after all the kids of Duck Blind Mafia. And some of the proceeds, once it takes off, are going to go to their college funds.
Oh, I love that. See, it's always about paying it forward. So if you are interested, you just saw the website, ruggedandruthless.com. So you've got these camo, again, the jackets. I've also got a polo here on set. What else is going to be coming? Because you've got...
Over the next month, we're going to have a lot of stuff. T-shirts, polos, shorts. We're going to have it all. With the rebranding, we had to kind of slow down production. Sure. And with the tariffs, we had to slow down a little bit too. But we're back up and moving. I have a lot of the BR1 and C3D in stock now, and the summer will be out within the next couple weeks.
And I love it. And so it's funny because whether you really truly are an outdoorsman or woman, or you're a hunter, like I said, it's unbelievable in the last, I'd say probably 5 years from a workout gear standpoint of how many women love wearing camo.
I actually have women that are designing the women's clothes. I'm not trying to go down that road. I know what I would wear, but somebody said, hey, we need to have a women's line. I said, that's fine. And they're like, well, you need to start looking stuff. I said, don't look at me. I don't wear the stuff. And we have some stuff coming up that like some of the athletic stuff. That's one of the main reasons why we switched from DBM to Rugged and Ruthless, though, because DBM is hunting. We want something for anybody that wants to live that rugged and ruthless lifestyle.
Good. I mean, I was going to say, because if I saw something that said Duck Blind Mafia, I'm like, well, that's not for me. Oh, what's this? Rugged and I'm rugged.
Yeah, well, everybody
I
wants
get
to
out
be
there.
rugged.
Well, right. And I think some of the clothing line would also be for people who love to hike. It's just really anything outdoorsy that they would be drawn to this. So very smart. From
Actually, well, I
business
can't take credit for this one.
No?
It was my CFO. She's the one that did it. She's like, we need to switch. I said, yes, ma'am. She's doing it. Her and her daughter are doing the ladies line. So
Good. Shout out to her. What's her name?
yeah, Jamie.
Jamie, way to
Yeah.
go.
Definitely. I wouldn't know where to even start with that.
So Rugged and Ruthless, and then also, again, check out Puncline Productions and click on Rugged and Ruthless so you can see some of the past clips. Actually, we've got a handful of them, so let's play another one, and that way you can kind of see what's to come as you have rebranded this and as you're going to start it back up. Overall, when someone comes to listen to your shows, what are you hoping they learn from it and take away from it?
Well, so I had quite a spiritual awakening about 2 months ago. So that's another reason why I'm taking a hiatus, because I want to go a different direction. Because I'm all about, I mean, you see me around here. I'm always positive.
Yeah.
Rugged and Ruthless is more of a mentality because we just want to do hard things. But yeah, when I want to take away is that there's just normal Americans out there that are just Americans and they just want to be successful and they want to work hard. A lot of stuff gets thrown around nowadays. I just want to go straight to the point.
Love it.
I just can't stand when it goes around about.
And you've had a lot of the people, like we mentioned, that walk through these halls. I saw a lot of our friends. We had Reed Lowe that was on an episode. Corey Schonhorst, who's behind Rugged and Ruthless, behind Puncline Productions. He was your first guest, I think, wasn't he? Or one of the first?
He was my first guest, right after he first got started, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of friends. And again, it's the camaraderie, the brotherhood. Have you had women on the show?
Not yet, but I've only done like 5 or 6 right now. I have kind of taken, but I want to get like Ashley on there.
Yeah.
I want to get a bunch of people on there actually. But I'm gonna start doing it more in the woods because that's where I feel most comfortable.
Okay, let's go hiking together.
Okay, I'm in.
He's like, no, I just want to shoot things.
No, you don't realize that on an average hunting day, I will walk 3, 7,
like
8
Joe
miles.
was saying. Yes.
Yeah, I'm walking a lot.
Yeah, and again, I don't think people understand the physical side of it all. But yes, it's fun to take different hosts that are here, and then we take them out of their comfort zone and blend together and do different things together. So it'll be fun when you start it back up.
Yeah, well, you can come on my show, but you got to remember, if you're doing tough things, nothing ever really seems that difficult.
No, well, we're going to do it. All right. So when you bring it back, I would love to be on.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Let's get out there in nature. All right, everybody. Again, ruggedandruthless.com. Here's another clip from one of the past episodes. I'm looking forward to it coming back.
You know, I'm just a small town Canadian kid with a will and a drive to make the NHL, and I just wouldn't take no for an answer. I got over 300 ice fights in 17 years of pro hockey and junior hockey.
Yeah, like my life is not that cool. We have 100 acres, and if I want to go blast something, dude, we just go blast something.
Blast it up. I only fought because I wanted to make the NHL more than I didn't want to fight.
You know, in hockey, you guys form a bond, and those same guys, you move on, but you're not in the same place. And you'd be surprised how that little feeling, that spark, that reminds you that you are important and things like that. And that's a hard thing to go through.
You know, for me, life is something that I've always tried to feel like I've had a control over, right? And it isn't until the last 4 years for sure, 3.5, but probably the last year and a half, where, you know, I realized that I don't have a whole lot of control, and I've let most of it go. And I think that there's a lot of times that we don't want to do that. We don't want to surrender to that because we're scared of what that looks like.
Carol, how's you're dreaming of?
For big family gatherings, for entertaining friends, or just hanging out.
For working from home or resting after work?
For kids growing up, or young adults moving out.
Whether you're updating your first home, your next home, or your dream home.
Whatever the reason you're shopping, we have the furniture you're dreaming of at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
And welcome back again. If you're just tuning in, you missed the whole show. So go back, share it, by the way. Do us a favor and share, like, follow. Every morning we're here for you, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. And then we do additional shows on Wednesday afternoons. We do our Wet Your Whistle show. We do shows on the weekends like we just did at Weingarten Vineyards. It's so much moving parts just to overall bring you positivity. And if you follow the show, you know we always wrap up with a devotional. So I'm letting Joey choose today's devotional. I gave him the rundown. Stephen Arterburn's books, 100 Days to Freedom. Ran through them all. And Joey, you picked which one?
Fear and anxiety.
And why?
Because that's something you face every day.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're having a great day, you still deal with fear and anxiety.
It's amazing, I will tell you, how many people choose this one, but it's also the fact that fear and anxiety lead into depression, right? And anger and sadness. And you just mentioned overeating.
Yes.
What was your comment about this?
I lose more weight during hunting season than I do in the off season.
Well, yeah, you're moving around more. You're walking around. We just talked about the activity side, but then all of a sudden the season goes away, and what happens?
I get duckpression.
Duckpression. Drop the mic right there. All right, here's how we wrap up our devotional. By the way, we're on day 63 of 100 Days to Freedom, and I think the other ones are still on day 30-something. So you can definitely tell that a lot of people pick this one. So this one's called More, Joey. Now all glory to God, who is able through his mighty power at work within us to accomplish infinitely more than we might ask or think. This is Ephesians 3, verse 20. So panicky feelings can set in really quickly when things are not going the way you expected. You begin to feel afraid of what will happen next. Is there a way out of this? What should I do next? It's difficult to process those questions when your brain is so fired up. So what can you do in moments like this? We just talked about when they're alone in the duck blind, the meditative state. Breathe. Take a minute. Breathe. When you pause in the middle of panic, it can create some mental space so you can focus, you can problem solve. Maybe you pray. Sometimes simple prayers like help can be so effective when we feel overwhelmed with anxiety. Panic attacks can feel like a heart attack or like you cannot breathe. And it's important to ask for help to determine if anything physical, of course, is wrong. They can be debilitating, disruptive if they continue. The good news is there's help. Panic attacks can be diminished with professional help, or as I mentioned earlier, just talking it out. Sometimes you need more space, more help, more peace. God will provide more than you might even think. Another translation of the passage from Ephesians says, quote, more than we might ask or imagine. The truth is, God is able. When we are feeling panicky, we can trust God with our needs and he will provide. And again, I never push faith on you. This is my walk and my belief. I hope, though, you have something that you lean on. Otherwise, you truly are alone with nothing or no one to lean on. Billy Graham said, don't ever hesitate to take to God whatever is on your heart. He already knows it anyway, but he doesn't want you to bear its pain or celebrate its joy alone. Tony Evans said, God's timing is always perfect. Trust his delays. He's got you. And Carrie Job said, when the Lord opens a door, walk through it. If he doesn't, just trust. So here's today's prayer. Lord Jesus, thank you for your calming presence in my life. Help me to breathe when I want to hold my breath. Help me to move when I feel stuck, and help me to recognize you are more than able to do more than I ask or even imagine. Amen to that.
That's so mo to be.
Yep. We have to be willing to be still sometimes. It's a whole other show we could do.
Yeah, that is definitely my kryptonite. I am not still.
No, and you and I both, though. Some stillness, though, when we have our alone time, or if he's in the duck blind, or I'm just sitting there meditating or preparing and getting ready for a show. It's all the beautiful things that happen when we allow ourselves to be still up here and not have so much chaos going on. Well, we said we're going to continue this. We're going to talk to a friend of ours tomorrow. Scott Schuessler will be on the show, just coming back from one of the most mental, physical, spiritual times of his life. What almost broke him, according to his wife. So I can't wait for him to be raw with us and talk about that. That's up on tomorrow's show. As I mentioned, at 8 o'clock, so just about 13 minutes ago, Ashley Malin's This Is Where We Heals episode with myself just dropped. So do me a favor, look for that on wherever you get your audio podcasts, and you can watch it also on Puncline Productions page. Go to the YouTube page. Ashley, by the way, thanks for having me on. Have a great one. Thanks for coming in. And to all of you, have a beautiful day. Again, be weather aware, be safe. We'll be talking about all the weather, and hopefully we're not talking about damage again, but we'll give you a breakdown of the news you can use, your weather, and then get into our mental, physical, spiritual awakening tomorrow. Have a beautiful day, and remember what we always say, be kind.